The colossal cargo ship, Stellar Nomad, cruised through the darkness of Sector 7, its metal hull gleaming under the light of 3 distant suns. "Captain, long-range scanners are picking up something strange," announced Navigator Krex, his 4 compound eyes rapidly processing the data streams flowing across his console. Captain Lyra Voss stood from her command chair, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with a mix of blue and amber, a clear sign of concern for those who knew how to read Luminian expressions. "Define strange, Krex." The words had barely left her lips when the ship lurched violently. "Oh, you have got to be kidding me!" Security Chief Talon cursed, his scaled tail whipping in agitation as red warning lights flooded the bridge. 3 vessels just dropped out of quantum space. Crimson Talon configuration. "Pirates." Captain Voss spat the word like it was poison. "Alert all hands. Battle stations." The Stellar Nomad's corridors erupted in chaos as crew members rushed to their emergency positions. Through the ship's viewports, 3 predatory-looking vessels painted in blood-red streaks circled like vultures, their weapon systems already charging. The first blast caught them in the starboard engine housing. Inside the engine room, Chief Engineer Zara 9 stumbled as her robotic legs struggled to compensate for the impact. "Status report!" she demanded, her synthetic voice cutting through the cacophony of alarms. "Multiple hull breaches in sections 12 through 15, someone shouted. "Primary power coupling is critically damaged." Another hit rocked the ship. This time the lights flickered ominously before switching to emergency power. The acrid smell of burning circuitry filled the air as smoke began pouring from several control panels. Up on the bridge, Captain Voss watched in horror as system after system began failing. "Krex, get me emergency power to the shields. Talon, return fire. Target their lead ship's weapon systems." "Captain," Krex's voice wavered, all 4 eyes now showing signs of panic. "The quantum drive is destabilizing. If we take another direct hit..." The ship shuddered again as another volley of enemy fire found its mark. Warning klaxons screamed through every deck as the quantum drive's containment field began to fluctuate dangerously. "We've lost control of the primary systems." Zara 9's voice crackled over the comm. "The safety protocols are failing faster than I can reroute them." The bridge crew watched in helpless horror as the pirates' ships moved into position for what would surely be the killing blow. Captain Voss's skin now pulsed a deep, dangerous red as she realized they were running out of options. "All hands prepare for emergency protocols," she commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not..." The rest of her words were cut off by an explosion that sent several crew members flying across the bridge. Through the smoke and sparks, Talon's voice rang out with words no one wanted to hear. "Captain, we've lost containment in Engineering Section C, and there are crew members trapped inside." Marcus Cole wiped the sweat from his forehead as he sprinted through the chaos of Deck C, his heavy boots thundering against the metal flooring. The ship's latest impact had knocked out communications in this section, leaving him cut off from the bridge. Not that it mattered. Most of the crew hardly acknowledged his existence anyway. "Engineering to bridge! The containment field is collapsing!" he shouted into his communicator, knowing full well it was useless. Through the reinforced windows of the corridor, he could see the quantum drive's chamber glowing an ominous purple, exactly the color no engineer ever wanted to see. 3 months ago, when he'd first boarded the Stellar Nomad, the other engineers had laughed. A human? Working on a quantum drive? The Luminian night shift supervisor had literally glowed with amusement. Even Zara 9, despite being an artificial life form, supposedly free from organic prejudices, had questioned his qualifications. "Your species barely achieved interstellar flight," she'd said, her metallic features arranged in what passed for skepticism. "The quantum drive requires a level of understanding that..." Another violent shake of the ship interrupted his memories. The emergency lighting cast everything in a bloody red glow as Marcus rounded the corner toward Engineering Section C. 2 Trilaxian engineers were attempting to override the safety locks on the main door, their tentacles working multiple control panels simultaneously. "The containment field is at 15% and dropping," one of them shouted. all three of their mouths moving in perfect sync. "We've got 6 crew members trapped inside." Marcus pushed past them, ignoring their startled clicks of protest. "Move," he commanded, pulling up the door's diagnostic screen. The pirates' attack had fried most of the primary circuits, but there was still power flowing through the auxiliary systems. "Human, you cannot possibly understand the complexity of," the second Tralaxian began. "The quantum cascade is going to breach in less than 10 minutes. Marcus cut him off, fingers flying over the controls. "And when it does, half this ship goes with it. Now either help me or get out of my way." The door's mechanisms groaned as Marcus forced them to respond to his override commands. Through the small window, he could see the trapped crew members, 2 Luminians, a Tralaxian, and 3 of Zara 9's robotic engineering team. The quantum drive's housing was beginning to crack, purple energy arcing between the support struts. "Bridge to engineering section C," Captain Voss's voice crackled through a partially functioning speaker. "Status report." Marcus grabbed the comm unit from the wall. "Captain, we've got multiple failures in the containment system. Temperature's rising fast, and we've got crew trapped inside. If we don't stabilize it soon." "What are our options?" she interrupted, her tone making it clear she knew exactly how bad the situation was. The human engineer looked through the window again, his mind racing through calculations. The pirates had stopped firing. They must have realized that destroying the quantum drive would take them out too. But the damage was done. The containment field was failing, and once it went... "There's only one way to prevent a cascade," he said grimly. "Someone has to manually realign the core matrix and restart the coolant systems, but with the radiation levels in there..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone knew what those radiation levels would do to organic tissue. Even the robotic crew members would have their circuits fried within minutes. "No species could survive those conditions," one of the Trilaxians stated flatly, all 3 mouths set in grim lines. "The heat alone would..." "A human might," Marcus interrupted, surprising himself with the steadiness of his voice. "Our bodies can withstand extreme conditions better than most species. It's why they call Earth a death world." The corridor fell silent except for the groaning of the ship and the distant sound of alarms. Through the comm unit, he could hear the bridge crew murmuring in disbelief. After 3 months of dismissing him as a primitive from a backwater planet, they were about to learn exactly what a human could do. "Captain," Marcus said, already removing his outer jacket, "I'm going in. If I'm not back in 8 minutes, get everyone off this deck." Before anyone could protest, he began entering the override sequence for the door's emergency release. The trapped crew members pressed themselves against the far wall, their faces showing a mix of desperation and disbelief as they realized what the human was about to attempt. The quantum drive chamber had become an inferno. Purple energy crackled across the walls like lightning, while waves of heat distorted the air. Through the observation window, the gathered crew watched as Marcus input the final sequence to open the door. "This is suicide," Security Chief Talon growled, having arrived with a team of his strongest officers. The Craxis tried to enter. Their enhanced armor melted in seconds. He gestured to the scorched marks on the floor, evidence of their failed rescue attempt. The door's mechanism released with a hiss of superheated air. Inside, the trapped crew members had gathered behind a rapidly failing emergency shield. One of Zara 9's robotic engineers was already showing signs of system failure, its metallic body glowing red from the heat. "The core temperature is approaching critical," Zara 9's voice echoed through the corridor. "Containment field at 8% and dropping. We have less than 6 minutes until total system failure." Marcus took a deep breath, checking the seals on his makeshift heat shield. Nothing more than a reinforced maintenance panel he'd grabbed from the wall. "If I can reach the manual override, I might be able to redirect power to the emergency coolant systems." "Might?" Captain Voss's voice crackled through the comm. Her skin was now pulsing a deep purple, a color Marcus had never seen from a Luminian before. "Engineer Cole, even if you survive the heat, the radiation levels will kill me slowly instead of quickly. I know." Marcus managed a grim smile. But humans are stubborn that way. We don't die easily. Another surge of energy from the quantum drive sent everyone stumbling. One of the trapped Luminians screamed as their emergency shield flickered, allowing a blast of heat through. Their skin flashed from blue to white in panic.
4 minutes until cascade failure, Zara 9 announced. The radiation levels are exceeding all safety parameters.
2 more Craxis security officers arrived, their massive armored forms filling the corridor. "We'll try again," one rumbled, checking his enhanced shield system. "Our new shields might—" "No time," Marcus cut him off. "Your shields will fail just like the last ones. Besides," he added with a bitter laugh, "you all think humans are fragile. Let me prove you wrong." The quantum drive surged again. Through the door, Marcus could see the main control panel. It seemed impossibly far away, on the other side of what had become a literal hell. The trapped crew members pressed themselves further against the far wall as another section of their shield began to fail. 3 minutes! Zara 9's voice had taken on an unfamiliar edge of panic. "The cascade is accelerating." Captain Voss's voice came through again, clearer this time. "All non-essential personnel, evacuate immediately. Security team, fall back to safe distance. Engineer Cole—" She paused. "Good luck." Marcus nodded, though she couldn't see him. The corridor quickly emptied, leaving only Talon and the 2 Craxis officers nearby. The security chief's scaled tail twitched with nervous energy. "What are our chances if he fails?" Talon asked over the comm. "Total quantum cascade would destroy everything within a 5-kilometer radius," Zara 9 replied grimly. "The stellar nomad would be torn apart at the atomic level." Marcus adjusted his grip on the maintenance panel shield. The heat coming through the door was already intense enough to make his eyes water. Behind him, he heard one of the Craxis officers muttering a prayer in their native tongue. 2 minutes until cascade, Zara 9 announced. Core temperature approaching absolute critical. Inside the chamber, one of the robotic engineers collapsed, its systems completely fried by the combination of heat and radiation. The others tried to maintain their shield, but it was clearly failing. The quantum drive's housing was now covered in a web of purple energy, each crack spreading like a glowing wound. Marcus took one final look at the scene before him. The distance to the control panel seemed to stretch forever through the superheated air. The trapped crew members stared at him, with expressions ranging from desperation to disbelief. Even the Craxis officers, members of one of the galaxy's strongest species, stood in silent awe of what he was about to attempt. "Captain," he said into his comm, "if this works, I expect a raise." Then, before his courage could fail him, Marcus Cole stepped into hell. The first step into the quantum drive chamber felt like walking into a blast furnace. The maintenance panel barely deflected the waves of heat as Marcus pushed forward, his boots sticking slightly to the melting floor with each step. The trapped crew watched in stunned silence as the human advanced through conditions that had defeated even the mighty Craxis. "Core temperature continuing to rise," Zara 9's voice crackled through the failing comm system. 90 seconds until cascade." Marcus gritted his teeth, forcing himself to keep moving. Each breath felt like inhaling fire. Sweat evaporated instantly from his skin, and he could feel his exposure suit beginning to bubble and crack. The quantum drive pulsed again, sending a wave of purple energy crackling across the ceiling. "Cole!" Captain Voss's voice cut through the roar of the failing drive. "The primary coolant lines are completely ruptured, even if you reach the controls." "Already figured that out, Captain," Marcus grunted, stumbling as another surge rocked the chamber. "But the secondary maintenance system runs through the floor. Independent cooling." His words were interrupted by a cry of pain as a burst of energy caught his left arm. The maintenance panel shield was starting to warp, its edges glowing red-hot. 20 more steps to the control panel. 15, 10. Through the observation window, the crew watched in astonishment. "He's actually doing it," Talon whispered, his scales shifting color in amazement. "The human is actually—" 60 seconds! Zara 9 interrupted. "Marcus, whatever you're planning—" "Shut up And let me think, Marcus shouted, finally reaching the control panel. His fingers, protected only by his rapidly deteriorating gloves, flew across the controls. The quantum cascade. It's like a wave, right? We can't stop it, but we can redirect it. That's impossible, one of the trapped Luminians called out. The energy has to go somewhere. Exactly, Marcus grinned through the pain, pulling off his melting glove to access the manual override. And I know exactly where to send it. The crew watched in confusion as Marcus began rerouting power through the secondary systems. His exposed skin was beginning to blister, but his hands remained steady. The pirates, he explained through gritted teeth. Their ships are still in formation, perfect position to catch the backwash if I can reverse the flow. 45 seconds, Zara 9 announced. Marcus, the radiation levels. Mean I'm already dead, he finished for her, punching in the final sequence. So let me do this my way. The quantum drive's housing groaned as Marcus forced it to accept the new power configuration. Purple energy began flowing in reverse, creating a vacuum effect that pulled at everything in the chamber. The trapped crew members pressed themselves harder against the wall as loose equipment went flying. 30 seconds. Zara 9's voice was almost lost in the growing roar. Marcus braced himself against the control panel, fighting against the pull of the reversing quantum field. His skin felt like it was on fire, and black spots danced at the edges of his vision. But his fingers continued their work, forcing the ship's systems to bend to his will. The pirates! Talon shouted suddenly. Their ships! They're being pulled in! Through the chamber's external viewport, Marcus caught a glimpse of the 3 pirate vessels struggling against an invisible force. Their engines flared desperately as the quantum backwash began to tear at their hulls. 15 seconds, Zara 9 called out. Marcus, the containment field is about to... Now! Marcus slammed his hand down on the final control, redirecting every bit of power the ship had left into the secondary coolant system. Icy vapor burst from the floor panels as supercooled liquid nitrogen flooded the chamber. The quantum drive howled in protest as cold met hot in an explosive clash of energies. Marcus was thrown backward, skidding across the now freezing floor. Through a haze of pain, he saw the purple energy swirling faster, forming a tunnel that stretched out toward the pirate ships. 5 seconds. Zara 9's countdown continued. 4, 3. The pirate vessel's shields failed simultaneously. The quantum backwash hit them like a tidal wave of pure energy, tearing their hulls apart in a spectacular display of destruction. The resulting explosion sent a shockwave through space that rocked the stellar Nomad like a toy boat in a storm. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, everything went quiet. Quantum cascade averted, Zara 9 announced, her synthetic voice showing rare emotion. Core temperature stabilizing. The pirates' ships have been completely destroyed. Marcus lay on the floor, every nerve ending screaming in agony. Through blurred vision, he saw the trapped crew's emergency shield finally fail, but it no longer mattered. The chamber's temperature was dropping rapidly, frost forming on the walls where superheated metal had glowed moments before. That, he managed to croak, was some quick thinking, wasn't it? The trapped crew stared at him in disbelief. The Luminian's skin flickered through a rainbow of colors. The remaining robotic engineers seemed frozen in place, their processors apparently struggling to understand what they had just witnessed. Quick thinking? Talon's voice carried both awe and disbelief. You'd just weaponized a quantum cascade failure and used it to destroy 3 pirate ships. That's not quick thinking. That's insane. Same thing. Where humans come from. Marcus tried to laugh, but it turned into a cough. His skin felt too tight, and he could taste blood in his mouth. The radiation exposure was already taking its toll. The emergency doors slid open as rescue teams rushed in, led by Captain Voss herself. Her skin pulsed with colors Marcus had never seen before, concern, amazement, and something else he couldn't quite identify. "Get him to medical," she ordered, her voice carrying an edge of both command and concern. "And someone find our doctor. Tell him to bring everything he has for radiation treatment." As the rescue teams reached him, Marcus managed a weak smile. "See," he whispered. "Told you, humans aren't as fragile as you thought." Then the darkness that had been creeping at the edges of his vision finally claimed him, and Marcus Cole, the only human aboard the Stellar Nomad, passed out with a smile still on his face. The medical bay of the Stellar Nomad hummed with activity as Dr. Raxon worked frantically over Marcus's unconscious form. The healer's 4 arms moved in precise coordination, administering treatments while monitoring an array of blinking medical devices. "His cellular structure is deteriorating faster than I can stabilize it," Dr. Raxon announced, voice tight with concentration. "Human biology is proving remarkably resilient, but the radiation exposure was extreme." Captain Voss stood at the observation window, her skin pulsing between deep blue concern and angry red frustration. "Options, Doctor." "The regeneration chamber might help," Dr. Raxon replied, preparing another injection. "But it's calibrated for Luminian physiology. Using it on a human could—" "Do it," a weak voice interrupted. Marcus's eyes fluttered open, bloodshot and unfocused. "Better than certain death, right?" The medical bay fell silent except for the steady beep of monitoring equipment. Security Chief Talon, who had refused to leave his post by the door, stepped forward. "You realize the chamber could kill you faster than the radiation?" Marcus managed a pained grin, his blistered skin cracking with the effort. Already dead. Might as well go out trying something new. Dr. Raxon looked to Captain Voss for confirmation. Her skin rippled with conflicting colors before settling on a determined gold. "Prepare the chamber. If he's willing to risk it, we owe him that chance." The next few minutes passed in a blur of activity. The medical team carefully transferred Marcus into the regeneration chamber, a sleek pod filled with luminescent fluid. As the lid sealed, Marcus caught glimpses of faces pressed against the observation window. The trapped crew members he'd saved had gathered to watch, along with others from engineering. "Beginning cellular reconstruction," Dr. Raxon announced, adjusting the chamber's controls. "Human, if you can hear me, try to remain calm. This will be unpleasant." Unpleasant was an understatement. As the chamber activated, Marcus felt like his body was being torn apart and reassembled one cell at a time. He would have screamed, but the breathing apparatus prevented any sound from escaping. "His heart rate is spiking," one of Dr. Raxon's assistants reported. "Brain activity is off the charts." Through the pain, Marcus could hear voices arguing outside the chamber. Captain Voss's commanding tone cut through the chaos. "Keep going. He survived quantum radiation. He can survive this." Time lost all meaning in the glowing fluid. Marcus drifted between consciousness and delirium, his mind replaying moments from the rescue in vivid detail. The heat, the pain, the desperate gamble that had saved the ship. "Remarkable," Dr. Raxon's voice filtered through Marcus's haze. "His cells are actually adapting to the treatment. I've never seen anything like it." "Humans," Talon rumbled from nearby. "They continue to surprise us." The pain gradually began to subside, replaced by an odd, tingling sensation throughout Marcus's body. He forced his eyes open, seeing distorted figures through the chamber's fluid. More crew members had gathered. He could make out Zara 9's metallic form, several Luminians glowing with concerned colors, and even the massive shapes of the Craxis security officers. "Vital signs stabilizing," the medical assistant reported. "Cellular regeneration at 60% and climbing." Captain Voss pressed a hand against the chamber's surface. "Stay with us, Marcus. That's an order." Marcus wanted to make a joke about finally getting some respect. But darkness was creeping in again. This time, though, it felt different. Not the heavy weight of death, but the gentle pull of healing sleep. The last thing he heard before surrendering to unconsciousness was Dr. Raxon's amazed voice. "Captain, his body isn't just surviving the treatment. It's getting stronger. These humans, they truly are extraordinary creatures." The gathered crew watched in silent awe as the chamber continued its work. The mysterious fluid gradually repairing the damage caused by Marcus's heroic actions. None of them spoke, but they all shared the same thought.
They had seriously underestimated what a human could endure. In the regeneration chamber, Marcus Cole slept on, his body slowly healing, while outside, the perspective of an entire crew was permanently changed. 3 days passed before the regeneration chamber's indicators shifted from red to green. Dr. Raxon's hands flew across the control panel, initiating the revival sequence. "Captain, he's regaining consciousness. Vital signs are, well, they're better than before he entered the chamber." The medical bay was packed with crew members, all waiting to witness the human's emergence. Captain Voss stood closest to the chamber, her skin pulsing with anticipation. "Beginning extraction sequence," Dr. Raxon announced. The luminescent fluid began draining from the chamber as the breathing apparatus disengaged. Marcus's eyes snapped open, and he took his first unassisted breath with a gasp. "Easy, human," Dr. Raxon cautioned as the chamber opened. "Your body has been through an extraordinary—" Marcus sat up abruptly, cutting off the doctor's words. "The ship, the quantum drive, fully stabilized," Zara 9 stepped forward. "Your solution was unprecedented. The quantum backwash not only destroyed the pirates but also created a feedback loop that helped stabilize our systems. Engineering is still trying to understand exactly how you managed it." Marcus swung his legs over the side of the chamber, examining his healed skin with surprise. "And the crew members who were trapped?" "All safe," Captain Voss answered, her skin glowing a warm yellow. "Thanks to you." Attempting to stand, Marcus stumbled slightly. Talon caught him with one scaled arm. "Careful there, hero. Even humans need time to recover." "Hero?" Marcus laughed weakly. "I just did what needed to be done, although—" He grinned at Captain Voss. "I believe we discussed a raise." The tension in the room broke as laughter rippled through the gathered crew. Even the stoic Craxis officers rumbled with amusement. "A raise, promotion, and your own engineering team," Captain Voss declared. "It seems we were mistaken about human capabilities." "Speaking of capabilities," Dr. Raxon interjected, checking his medical scanners, "the regeneration chamber appears to have enhanced your natural resilience. Your cellular structure is now approximately 30% more resistant to radiation and heat than before." Marcus took a few experimental steps, feeling stronger with each moment. "You're telling me nearly dying made me harder to kill? That's the most human thing I've ever heard." The medical bay erupted in another round of laughter, but this time it was different. Not the nervous or dismissive laughter that had greeted Marcus when he first joined the crew, but the warm sound of genuine appreciation and respect. "Welcome back, Engineer Cole," Captain Voss said formally, her skin settling into a deep, respectful blue. "The Stellar Nomad wouldn't be here without you." Marcus looked around at the faces of his crewmates, no longer aliens who doubted him, but colleagues who had witnessed firsthand what humanity was capable of. "Thank you, Captain," he replied with a smile. "It's good to be home." 1 week after the quantum drive incident, Marcus sat in the newly renovated engineering bay, surrounded by a team of eager apprentices from various species. The Stellar Nomad hummed smoothly through space, its systems running better than ever thanks to the improvements he'd implemented. "And that's why you always need a backup for your backup," he explained to his attentive audience, including 2 young Luminians whose skin sparkled with curiosity, and a Trilaxian engineer who took notes with multiple tentacles. Captain Voss entered the bay, her skin glowing with pride. "Teaching them your human tricks already, Chief Engineer?" Marcus grinned at his new title. "Just sharing some Earth wisdom, Captain. Sometimes the best solutions aren't in any manual." "Clearly," she agreed. "The Galactic Engineering Council has requested your presence at their next summit. It seems your quantum drive solution has sparked quite the interest in human perspectives on spacecraft design." The engineering bay buzzed with excitement. Even Zara 9, now his assistant chief, showed what passed for enthusiasm in her metallic features. "Perhaps," she suggested, "we should consider recruiting more humans to the fleet." "Absolutely," Talon added from the doorway, "though finding ones as crazy as Cole might be challenging." Marcus laughed. remembering how far they'd come from the days when they'd dismissed him as a primitive from a death world. "Not crazy," he corrected. "Just human. And trust me, there are plenty more like me out there, just waiting for a chance to prove themselves." Looking around at his crew, his family now, Marcus knew they finally understood. Humans weren't fragile. They were simply built to endure.
Like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. Your support means the world to me and helps me keep creating amazing content for you.